And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. So, to start off with our topics today, are you familiar with the app that is WhatsApp, which is actually owned by Facebook? So WhatsApp is big and in particular in India, which is the world's second largest internet market in the world. So for those who are not familiar, WhatsApp is similar like how Facebook is. It's a social media messaging app, so you can communicate with your friends and families and so forth. But in this case, WhatsApp is somewhat, we could say, similar to how WeChat works in China. And WhatsApp has been trying to devise a payment system that would be incorporated with what they have right now in their services. Now, they have began testing the payment service in India way back in 2018 with a small sample size of using just 1 million users to see how it would work, maybe iron out some kinks and expand the features and then fully implement it for the entire nation. So let's take a closer look here. Where is it? There you go. Okay, so as mentioned, WhatsApp is a Facebook-owned service, and it's rolling out its payment to 10 Indian regional languages in its latest version of WhatsApp, whether it's Android versus iOS. Now, the key point here is the payment system is what do you call this? Is under the UPI or Unified Payment Infrastructure, which is it is collaborated with using different banks or major banks in India. So, which was announced by the National Payment Corporation of India or NPCI that they have granted approval for WhatsApp to roll out its UPA powered payment in the country. Now, obviously, other firms are trying to get into the market with the likes of Google and I think, yeah, Google, Samsung, and so forth, right? And they have already, WhatsApp has already amassed a substantial amount of followers, as much as 400 million users in India. So that's a significant amount. So when they started out testing just with 1 million to see, if there are any flaws or kinks to the application, so that, when they actually fully roll out to the entire, populace, and there will be lesser trouble than necessary. Now, obviously, they cannot do it without the support or the backing of the leading banks in China, namely ICC Bank. You also have HDFC Bank. You also have Axis Bank, State of Bank of India, and Geo Payment banks. Now, obviously, Google and Walmart currently dominate the mobile market in India. They, they roughly command around 80% of the UPI market share, which is, obviously other companies like in this case, Facebook is trying to, try to gain a market share in the industry now. UPI has emerged as a popular, or not just a popular, most popular digital payment in India. Now, this is due to the direction of the government, in this case New Delhi, to invalidate more than 85% of paper cash circulation in the nation by late 2016. Now, obviously, it may be case to case if governments are trying to do away with paper money transaction. Even countries like in Japan, who's first rate country compared to other nations, still heavily rely on paper transactions when purchasing items and services. Now, obviously, this has a significant effect on other firms who are using other types of payment, in this case mobile payment. So obviously this has hurt the companies like SoftBank and Alibaba backed company Paytm. I don't know how it's pronounced. So they have built their investment on the mobile wallet. Now, obviously, mobile wallets are not similar to just using a one app for all your payment services. Mobile apps, as mentioned, are not interoperable with other mobile apps, so it's somewhat limited to its features. That's why it didn't catch on for many users, not like WeChat and WhatsApp here. And there's also a fee that you have to pay for consumers, not like when you use WhatsApp and WeChat. It's a free software to access to begin with. Now, obviously, this is a great opportunity, and this is according to the chief executive of Facebook, which is Mark Zuckerberg, which is stating that India has created something truly special and is opening up the world for micro and small businesses that are the backbone of Indian economy. So India is the first country to do anything like this, and he is glad to support this effort and work together to help achieve a more digital India. I think it's not just India we're looking at here. Obviously, if this would work for their market, this could be applied in other regions as well, in Asia or for the rest of the world. Now, what one may wonder, why is Mark Zuckerberg, so pushing the mobile or the unified payment system? Now, based on information, you might be astounded to find out that that the market is pretty significant. The India's mobile payment market is estimated to reach a $1 trillion mark by 2023, which makes sense why large multinational companies with the likes of Google, Walmart, then you have Facebook, are investing heavily in India because they want to obviously gain a market share and generate the revenues that it is. Obviously, it's going to take some time, and there are going to be a lot of hurdles before they are able to fully push through with this one. Now, one of the main concerns that was mentioned here, I think, is regarding the security concerns or the regulatory that the country or India has expressed concern with over payment users data. What do you do with it? How is it going to be protected? Whether the Facebook owned service wielded too much power, like in the case in European Union. So they're not just collecting data in your social media app, but now in this case, in terms of your payment behavioral, they're able to get your information as well. So obviously, the government has to protect the interests of all the citizens and find out ways how to safeguard everyone's interest, and everyone has a win-win scenario here. Now, obviously, Facebook is pushing the platform, which is WhatsApp, as it gains more traction as a form of payment, similar to how WeChat is. And they're continuing to invest as much as almost 6 billion in the Indian telecom giant, which is Jio platform. So it's looking promising for the Indian market. Obviously better technology, better services, and hopefully that gets here also in our backyard. Anyway, continuing with our next story. So some of you may not be familiar, a European country chain of luxury stores, Richemont, has hit a snag in terms of with the pandemic that's going on, that sales have slumped by as much as 82% during the first half of this year. So let's see here. There you go. So among its brand that it carries is Richemont. Okay. Cartier, sorry, it's Cartier. I don't know how you pronounce it properly. You have Cartier, wherein it tumbled by as much as 82%. Now, obviously, it makes sense because people's priorities are totally different with the pandemic that's going on. Food, shelter, all those basic necessities are number one on their list. Obviously, items such as jewelries, earrings, diamonds, all of those stuff are secondary, or not even secondary, but way down their list. Now, obviously, people who can afford to buy those luxury items are not necessarily clamoring to buy items. Obviously, they have difficulties traveling, moving around. So how can people buy those luxury items? Now, obviously, this has heavily affected, in particular, in Europe, Americas, as well in Japan. So, which is contrasted, which is kind of ironic. Despite the decline of sales during the past year, sales in China has significantly increased by as much as 78%. So which kind of balance out the productivity or the revenue of Richmond here. Now, obviously, travel restrictions has remained frozen. So in turn, other countries that relies on travelers from Americas, Europe, and even Japan have limited. Tourists are not able to go to those countries and buy those luxury items. And so continuing, where was I? Yeah. So next we have here is the company that is Ferrari. For those who are familiar, Ferrari is known for their sports cars, luxury sports car, and some have said that with the popularity of Tesla electric vehicles, many car companies are going to transition to a electric vehicle. Well, according to Ferrari, they may have a popular vehicle that is electric powered, but it's going to take a few years before they even, you know, transition fully to an electric car making company, which is Ferrari. Now, obviously, Ferrari is one of the top manufacturers in the world, known for their fast vehicles that are used for international racing and for personal driving. So let's see here. Where is it? Um, yeah, so obviously they're known for their luxurious car, but according to the CEO of Ferrari, that's Luis Camilleri, hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. He said he doesn't think that the Italian car manufacturer will ever go 100% electric. Now, despite the car that's popular right now, they're what do you call this? What's the model? The SF90 Straddle. So let's take a look what it looks like here. Yeah, so it looks like this. So it typically looks like any Ferrari. I think it's similar to a LaFerrari model, but the difference here, it has three what do you call it? Three electric motors. One is mounted in the transmission. The other one is, or each one is mounted on each front wheel. Now, obviously, this is popular now, with the latest trend with Tesla, the way it is. But, you know, people are still clamoring for typical, combustible engines, which is, with the likes of Bugatti, you have Lamborghini, Ferrari, obviously. And, it won't be in the very near future that, all cars will be transitioning to electric vehicles. But in the case of Ferrari, the first all electric car won't arrive until 2025. So still a long wait before people can see whether there's going to be an electric car that is going to be popular. We still don't know if electric vehicles going to be the way of the future. And take note, even Tesla is only just a smidgen of market share compared to the rest of the car industry. So Tesla has a long ways to go before it can even surpass or even replace traditional combustionable engine here. Anyway, so next we have here is types of games. Now for those who are excited, holidays is around the corner and Sony's PlayStation has just been released, and if you're wondering whether it's a good purchase or not, fear not. So the review is in regarding the Sony's next gen console. So let's see here, what does it say? So it looks promising because based on the article, it's stated here that PlayStation 5 truly feels like a next gen console. So they like to use the word whole moment. So obviously it has to surpass what its predecessor has already done in terms of PS1, 2, 3, and even 4. Now the PlayStation 4 has already iterated to a PlayStation 4 Pro. Does it even surpass or even exceeded what it was able to do in the past? So let's take a closer look here. Now based on the article here, it stated that it does make a bold statement that it is a next gen console. Now based on the what I call this, based on three factors like they mentioned. So first is its incredible SSD, so meaning the upload speed of your game from booting up your console to starting up a game is significantly faster than compared to a PS4 or even PS4 Pro. And then another one is the graphical upgrade, meaning better graphics. You can play 4K in your games and it could run not just 30 frames per second but can go as high as 60 frames per second. Obviously, it's not just the console that you need a very powerful machine, but your TV or monitor has to be able to accommodate that advanced technology. Otherwise, you're missing out on the technology. Even if you have a 4K machine but your monitor is 1080p, then you might not get the best experience here. Now some have touted already that that it could run as high as 140 frames per second if it's on 1080p here. Now obviously the main caveat here is this better than a typical PC or desktop game? Whether you buy the best specifications, compare it to a console, whether it's Xbox or Sony PlayStation here. Now obviously based on what the specs here, which we'll take a look here in a bit. So in it or inside, the CPU has 8 cores, so way significant that typical laptops or desktops that we have here. Typically you start out with 4. Now it's common 6 cores. Then obviously as you go higher, more cores, better performance for your console in this case. Then it has 36 CUDA cores for your GPU. It's touted slightly lower than compared to Microsoft's. That's a little over 10 teraflops, meaning better graphics, and it has 16 gigs of memory, so you could multitask easily and transfer games easily as well. Now obviously one of the downside of this game is, or the console, is it has less than 1 terabyte of storage. Now obviously 1 terabyte may sound a lot, but if with the games that's being installed is in the 10s or even 20s or even the high 50s, it could easily fill up in no time at all. Now, one of the advantages of the console here is they're giving you the option to expand your storages using NVMe SSD slot, which is a very fast transfer of data here. And obviously, if you use the typical, console, it has 4K Blu-ray player here. Now, obviously, for a $400, $500 console, it's way cheaper compared to if you were to assemble it by yourself with a PC parts. So a high-end graphics card, which it has, can outperform any CPU that's already available in the market, which is faster. Now obviously one of the downsides here, if you're talking of let's see here, when you're talking of next gen here, it's only as good as the current here, because not like in the PC, come next year, they'll be updating their products in terms of processors, graphics cards, and so forth. But not like gaming consoles, it's going to take some time or years before they even have a refresh of the PS5 or even go to the next generation, which is PS6. I don't know if they would change the naming here. Anyway, now obviously one of the big advantages that consoles are pushing is not just the hardware itself, but the game itself, the fast transition here. Yeah, so the big features that it's boasting is the new UI. So I've seen in some videos, people are touting it has a better experience. Obviously, it looks different than the PS4, and obviously the super fast loading is one of its big advantages here. Now, obviously, is it a big deal? From 1 minute to 30 seconds, it cuts some into half the loading time. I think I watched one of the videos provided from the next Spider-Man Miles Morales, wherein from the loading screen to the actual game, it took only several several seconds to load, which is kind of interesting. But again, is it those things enough for you to buy the next gen console? So based on the article, so they're stating that obviously it's not just the hardware, also they have the DualSense controller, which has haptic motors, meaning it's nuanced enough to convey the feelings of footsteps on different surfaces. So it gives you a different sensation when you're using the control. Obviously, in previous controllers, it has rumble features, but it's more sensitive in a sense. And I think one of the videos I saw when they were playing, what was the game? Yeah, Astro's Playroom showcased this game as a good point. So other game developers can adopt this technology so that it gives you a more interesting sensation. It's not just visual, but it's also how you feel it with your both hands. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about the games, right? Without the games, the console is nothing. And obviously, with the release of the Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's looking good. And compared to the Spider-Man 4 update, then you have Demon's Soul, which I saw in a stream yesterday. So it's looking promising. Obviously, better experience is always great. And at the end of the day, the games will always outweigh the cons in whether it becomes outdated and so forth. Next, we have here. Yeah, before I forget. So, are you going to buy the Sony PlayStation 5 now? Obviously, if you have a current gen PS4, if you have the money, you should get the PS5 here, and it's a no-brainer here, especially if you're a follower of Sony PlayStation here. Obviously, one of the downsides that was mentioned here is, it supports 4K, but it doesn't support anything in between, whether it's 2K or 3K screen here. Obviously, for PC gamers, this is a big bummer, but PS5 should have known this. It's not just 1080p that people have in their monitor screens, but they have 2K up to all the way to 4K. But you have to wait and see. PS5 will still have time to improve on their product. Anyway, next we have here is in terms of health and fitness. If you're familiar with Peloton, sales have been skyrocketing, obviously, with the pandemic. So let's take a closer look. Where is it? There you go. So obviously, Peloton is known for their exercise machines. So for high-end exercise bike, as well as treadmills. Now, sales has spiked again or increased due to the increased number of COVID-19 cases. Now, obviously, no one wants, things like this to happen, but it is what it is. Now, people are stuck at home. This has, what do you call this? This has brought about, shifts from people, whether exercising in gyms or going out to have a walk or, exercise outside or outdoors, but it's not possible now. So obviously, with the recent spikes in COVID cases and other newly imposed lockdowns have a significant positive impact on sales for Peloton. Now, obviously, I'm sure the company doesn't want, bad things to happen for them to generate revenue, but it is what it is, right? People are stuck at home. How can they, continue exercising, staying healthy, and so forth? Obviously, by ordering online, delivery to your doorstep, and you can still, do high-end exercise or do runs on your treadmills all in America here. Now, obviously, will the recent spikes of COVID cases will still continue until such a time the vaccine is produced, which is best case scenario is sometime early next year, and that could be delayed sometime mid to even late next year, and we still don't know how effective the vaccine is going to be here. And obviously it's also alarming in other regions like in Europe, where the number of cases is also rapidly increasing per capita basis. So lockdown measures has been imposed, in particular in France, Germany, as well as in England. Now, good news for Peloton. Obviously, first quarter sales has more than not doubled, tripled as the company's expectation, and it has raised revenue for its fiscal 2021. So obviously, consumers has been turning to its at-home workout products and live stream classes, obviously ditching gym memberships amidst the pandemic. And despite the bike in demand, obviously one of the main problems that Peloton is dealing with is with the logistics. Obviously, high demand with being able to supply all the demand is one of the key problems here. Whether production facilities problems in terms of availability of parts, being able to deliver it on time, they're being delayed, and it's expected to operate under supply constraints in the foreseeable future. I think it's not just Peloton who's dealing with this, but other companies as well. I think if you're trying to purchase the latest processor, whether Intel or AMD, they're all out of stock right now, so it's going to take some time. Anyway, so for some local news, so if you're thinking of how are we dealing with the pandemic, we've been relying so much on internet connections, whether you're using prepaid or postpaid services here. And good news here, PLDT Smart is accelerating its 5G rollout with more base stations across the nation here. So let's see here. Yes, so PLDT and its wireless subsidiary, Smart Communication, has fired up 279 base stations in the third quarter to roll out its 5G network across the country. I think it's high time because other nations have already adopted the technology, and with our reliance even more so during the pandemic, better technologies for better service, so that everyone has access to the internet, whether for studies, for work, and so forth. Right? So they're going to extend the reach now in different locations. So let's take a look here. What location is this? Yeah. So they have Boracay as a target, Cebu, Iloilo, Davao, following its commercial launch way back in July. So they're also adding location to existing sites in Metro Manila, namely you have Makati, Taguig, Pasay, you have Quezon City, Manila, Pasig, Mandaluyong, Marikina, and Parañaque, as well as in Valenzuela, Caloocan, Navotas, and San Juan. So, this is looking promising. Hopefully, they'll provide better service and better connectivity, which is something that we all want to avail. Now, obviously, it's not just a service, but in terms of the fee, hopefully it's not exorbitant amount. We're always lagging behind in terms of being charged the highest with the lowest type of quality of internet service in this region. So apart from Metro Manila, they're also targeting sites in Pampanga's New Clark City. You also have Cavite, Laguna, as well as in Rizal. So aside from expanding its 5G networks, it's also increasing its long-term evolution with its LTE and third generation base station by 17 and 15% respectively. So hopefully they'll continue improving their facilities, investing in infrastructures, so that the entire nation could be interconnected, so that whether there's a pandemic or not, people are connected, whether it's school, at work, and with their loved ones, and so forth. Finally, for our last story. So if you're thinking of buying a new phone, can you guess what's the most expensive phone right now in the market? It's roughly around $3,000. Roughly, that's 150,000 pesos. That's equivalent to a second-hand car or even a high-end laptop, but it is what it is. So Samsung built a bigger, more expensive phone with their Galaxy Fold 2, which is being sold right now in China. Let's see here. So what makes it so expensive? Even I was surprised to find out that such a product exists in terms of its price range. Now, obviously, if you're thinking of buying a laptop, it makes sense, but for a phone, why is it so expensive? But anyway, so Samsung's Galaxy W, its flagship smartphone, is targeted specifically for the affluent Chinese consumers. So it's targeted primarily to the Chinese market. Obviously, with its sky-rise prices, so it's already introduced a previous version way back in 2019. So one of its unique feature is similar to a, I don't know if you're familiar with similar to this feature from Nokia. It's a big foldable sort of tablet phone which has a number keypad. So it has a big foldable tablet phone. So let's take a closer look here. So looks nice, right? So it's very shiny. It's expensive for $3,000. So comparing it to its previous iteration to the Samsung Galaxy W 2019, the W21 is somewhat bigger than the Galaxy Fold 2. So in terms of its spec, it has a 6.2 screen on the outer. So let's see here. Yeah, there you go. So you can see here, it has an inner screen and outer screen. So typically, for mundane tasks, you can use just the outer screen. But if you want more intensive work or load, you typically open the phone on both sides, giving you as much as 8-inch of footprint. Now, the Galaxy Fold boasts a 4,390 milliwatt hours of battery, which is kind of smaller than its predecessor of 45,000 milliamp battery. Now, in this scenario, you get a bump in storage in terms of 512 gigabytes, which is way better. In the very near future, a phone will have as much as 1 terabyte of storage in our phone. And also it has a dual SIM support, which is typical for Asian countries, which we typically have more than one lines that we use for personal and for professional purposes. Now it has typical specs for the latest Snapdragon chipset of 865. It has 12 gigs of RAM and a side-mounted fingerprint reader on all sides of the camera. So if you're interested in buying this phone, you have to purchase it in China here. And obviously one of its aesthetic features that its selling point is the unique color scheme, which is a straight up shiny polished gold. So you can see here, it's way bigger than the previous iteration. It's more shinier. If it's any better, who's to say? If Samsung would give me that one for me to review, it would be nice. But anyway, so Samsung site, it says that the 7-layer nano level optical film attached to the glass back panel. So if you're interested to buy this product, you have to purchase it in China here. Now, is 3,000 worth your money, or is it better suited to buy something else altogether? But if you have the cash, why not, right? But it is what it is. At least the key point here is Samsung is trying to innovate in terms of better products, better features. Hopefully that's something the masses can enjoy as well, right? Anyway, I think that's about it. Thanks for joining me today. So if you have any questions, leave your comments down below and I'll get back to you. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell icon so you can stay updated with the latest videos as well as news. Also, hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget that one. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Take care.